All right.
We're there, I think.
We did it.
I fucking hate being late. Now my camera fell. I hate it. I'm really bad at this sort of thing.
Oh, this is great, man. Well, thank you for getting on. Good morning, ladies and
Glad to
gentlemen.
do it.
Mark Bagley.
Hey,
Good
don't
to
judge.
Good to see you, man. So
I know I'm bouncing shit around. I'm trying to get it all set up again. So
that's all right. Take your time. Do your thing.
All right,
man. Let me soak this in real quick. Where are we? We're in your house right now?
Yeah, we're in my studio.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there you go. It's very dark right now, but yeah, that's where we are.
And where are you based out of? What state are you in?
Georgia and
Okay,
Depression State.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this. So happy to see you, man. Happy you're able to get on. Welcome to GrailsCon.
Okay.
Mark Bagley on, everybody. This is a real treat. So it's funny. My first question was going to be, have you ever done an interview on Instagram?
Not on Instagram. No, Zoom and all that. Can you see enough of my face to make it worthwhile?
We got plenty of your face, man. You look great.
Oh, God, more than enough, I guess. I hate fucking being late. All right. Yeah, no, I've never done Instagram. I've done Zoom, and I've done a couple other ones, but and I don't have an Instagram. I've got an Instagram page that's handled by a friend of mine, and so I had to come through his Instagram to do this. So,
oh, good.
And he's a tall black man. He looks nothing like me.
Well, you're here. That's all that matters, man. So got a ton of great questions. A lot of our followers from the page, message us with stuff to ask you about. So we're going to kind of like, sort of walk through your career. We got a lot of different things, we want to touch on. So you're born in Germany?
Yeah, Frankfurt, Germany. My twin brother and I. My parents went. My dad's in the service, and they went there with one kid. Came back 3 years later with 5.
Oh wow!
Because we're Irish. And and you want to slap my dad. So, yeah.
And when did you guys move to the States?
I was about 2 I was 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was about 3. So, no, I don't sprechen Sie Deutsch at all. So,
Gotcha. What age did you start drawing, man?
I have no idea. I was young. Probably. I remember drawing spaceships and crap when I was, listening to when Kennedy was shot. I was in school. I remember I was doing it that day. I mean, that's how long. Yeah, I am that old. And
Weird Superboy was your first comic you picked up at a rest stop. Does that sound right?
Pretty much it. Yeah, warm Dr. Peppers, and I'd never seen a comic before. I was about 8 or 9, and we were coming back from. That was coming back from Hawaii. Lived there for a year, and. Yeah, and I've got 5 brothers and a sister, and I was the only one who ever got into comics. My parents had no idea what the fuck to do with me. I tell this story. My twin brother, Mike, had never read a comic in his life.
Oh, wow.
I was up visiting. He bought his first house about 10 years ago. The Avengers came out, the original movie.
Sure.
And he likes movies, but so he says, hey, Mark, let's go see the Avengers. And Patty and I had already seen it like twice. And we're like, yeah, sure. So we took him, coming out of the theater, we're driving home. So, Mike, how'd you like it? And he goes, I liked it. I hear I do a really good Mike. I said, yeah. He says, got a couple questions, though. So, at the end of the movie, the guy with the hammer, he goes home? And we're like, the guy with the fucking hammer? It's like, he plays golf. I hate golf. We were very fraternal. So,
so were you the only one in the family that was drawing? Were your parents?
My parents had no idea what to do with it. Yeah, I'm the only artist in my family. My brother Bob was really talented. I mean, he was a woodworker and stuff.
Right.
Very artistic in that way. But nobody else in my family even touched. I've got my mother's first cousin Jay. This is, the Coppertone ad from back in the day with the dog pulling down a little girl's bathing suit, and there's a tan line. And I
don't think so.
It's a famous painting, or maybe it's a Motorola. I think. I think there's phonograph in the back.
Okay.
He painted that back in the day. He had his own ad agency in Atlanta for years and years and years. He never hired me because I'm only good at one thing. It's comics. So,
Gotcha. So I mean, was the plan always to draw comics? I mean, were you that passionate about the art? You're like, this is what I'm doing.
Never a good idea for a kid, but it's all I ever wanted to do. I mean, it's it's just it's all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah, and were your parents were they supportive? I mean, it's obviously being any musician or artist type of
They did the best. They did the best they could. I remember my dad. They got me an actual desk with a, slanted top that you could open up, and my mom refinished the whole thing. And, they gave me a couple art lessons in the summertime, but, I was a pretty introverted kid. My brothers are all jocks and that sort of thing. And I did some sports and that sort of thing, but I'm still pretty much kind of a hermit, and, just ask anybody in the business. Nobody ever fucking sees me.
Yeah, a lot of us comic guys are, man.
But it's just it's just what I focused on. And, I thank God there wasn't video games back then, because I know I'd just be in my basement to this day in my underwear, just playing.
Yeah.
So
I try to keep my kids off the iPad, man. It's a much different generation.
Impossible. Yeah. It's
nuts. So we did some research. Did you have some kind of injury when you were younger we heard about?
I'm an average kind of heterosexual guy from the 50s. Yeah, I got lots of fucking.
Something with a lot of stitches.
I think the one you're probably talking about is after art school, I did construction for 3 years, because basically, you starve for years unless you're very lucky. And I was doing framing, I was working with my brother-in-laws, and I wasn't a very good. I'm a decent carpenter, but I put a skill saw in my thigh. Skill saw is a circular saw, and I was cutting something out on a sawhorse, and you should never do this. I set the skill saw down on the sawhorse to check what I was cutting, and the guard that comes down to protect the blade had gotten stuck. It had gotten a chip up there, and it jumped into my thigh. I mean, it laid me open like that, all up and down my thigh. So
how old are you?
I was 25 or 6.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, probably about 23, 24, because I did construction for about 3 years, and then after I'd fallen off a couple of roofs and could barely put a tool belt on anymore, I lucked into a job at Lockheed and did technical illustration for a few years.
Got it. What kind of stuff were you drawing at Lockheed? Just like
basically really, really complicated IKEA designs. We would take photographs of engine parts, airplane engines, C-130s, C-5s, all that, and this is just before the dawn of really computer illustration and that sort of thing. Really, they weren't doing it much. They brought in CAD CAM stuff, like just as I was leaving Lockheed, thank God, because I hate computers. And we would take the black and white photograph with vellum over it, trace it, and then blow parts out. Like, okay, this part's got a nut, and a washer, and a locking thing, and just for technical manuals. And they loved me, because there were a lot of guys doing what I do, but I was like 3 times as fast as anybody else. I mean, I don't have the engineering mind where I could actually draw the thing right to spec, but to make it look good and make it look right, I can do that 3 times as fast as anybody else there, because I'm been blessed with a little bit of a talent on that. And so I did fairly well there, but it was the first time I ever worked with a drafting arm, ellipses, a tilting desk, the whole 9 yards.
Right. So that was the last job you had, I guess, pre-comics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The story, I guess, has it right. There was the Jim Shooter tryout.
In fact, you know what? I'm scanning all the pages I have in a safe in the house just to get insured and stuff. And I have all the original tryout book pages that I sent in.
What exactly was it? I mean, was it like a comic? Because there's a lot of different theories out there.
Hang on one second. Let me duck real quick
amazing.
right here. I had this out because I was going to sign it and throw it in the safe, and I never did.
Oh, let's see.
Look.
It's it.
Examples. This is the original Marvel Trial book.
Wow.
And it's like I said, it's full-size pages. It was $12.95. Its story starts with John Romita Jr. back in the day, started the story, all finished comics. And as you went along, sections dropped out, depending upon what you wanted to do. Like, this is for an inker, and, after that, there was, what else we got here?
So were you just penciling in? That was basically
there was a section with plot, and you were supposed to do those 5 pages, 4 or 5 pages, as the tryout,
right? And
send them in. And I wasn't going to do it. I was 27 years old and hadn't. I was bound and determined I wasn't going to be a 30-year-old guy walking through a convention going, "Hey, look at my stuff," Right. I had a job at Lockheed and wife and kid in the house, whole 9 yards. And Cliff Biggers, the guy at my local comic book store, who's been friends of mine forever, gave it to me. He said, "Look, if you don't do this, you'll hate yourself." And I won first place out of 19,000 entrants. Eric Larson swears to God he came in second. Now, I don't know if he's full of shit, which he usually is, but anyway, it, you know, out of 19,000, and granted, 18,900 were probably 12-year-olds because it was a gimmick to take money from kids. But it got me to New York. I got my first job in comics. I did Lockheed for a year and a half and comics for a year and a half and lived on about 4 hours of sleep a night. And finally, Lockheed started laying off, and I've been going ever since.
And you remember the first one Marvel gave you when you broke your way in?
Oh, yeah, you always remember where you pop your chair. Yes,
this?
Absolutely. That was
that one of them?
The first one, yeah. No, actually, my first published work. That's my first ongoing.
Okay.
Visionaries. Woohoo! Yeah, I know.
It's funny, man. I'm born in '84, and I had these toys.
Dude, I have underwear older than you are.
So yeah, as we're researching you, man, I saw that this was part of your history. I was like, this is such nostalgia for me.
That was my first ongoing book. God, it was actually really good training because Visionaries is like these toys with holograms on their chest, and there was like 20 of them. There were like 10 good ones and 10 bad ones, you know.
Yep.
And the whole formula of Transformers and all that stuff. And these stories were incredibly stupid. They just were. They had to be, you know. But it really, you know, it was like doing a team book with a lot of characters, and you had to figure out the choreography. And it was good training, you know. So my first published work was an issue of Night Mask for the New Universe. New Universe was an imprint that Marvel did years ago, and it was going down in flames pretty good. And they just basically need people to work on it. So I did a couple issues of Night Mask, and then I worked with Fabian on Cyforce. There was an issue of that, and like I said, we're about a year and a half until I finally was getting enough work to go, okay, I can buy a new house and leave this. So.
There you go. And then what was the first, like, I guess, more major one? Was it the New Warriors? I know that was kind of...
The New Warriors was my first...
this guy here.
I did Strikeforce Mortori for 10 or 12 or 14 issues or something. And that was my first really kind of mainstream serious book. I mean, that came after Visionaries. I got the last 8 pages of my last issue of Visionaries in like overnight just to get it out of the way so I could start on Strikeforce.
Yeah.
The stuff was not very good.
Sure.
Yeah, after Visionaries was and then came New Warriors, and that I felt like I finally got my foot in the door of real superhero Marvel. You know,
you kind of created a whole team there too, which is pretty cool.
Well, yeah, Ron Friends and Tom DeFalco introduced the team, but we got to. It was kind of a blessing because it felt like these are characters nobody really gave a shit about, you know. And I mean, Namorita, for Christ's sake, and
sure.
Marvel Boy, and
there she is.
You know, Night Mask, and
Namorita, this one here.
Yeah, and Fabian could just let it go, and he wanted me because he'd seen my stuff and knew I could draw okay, and it just took off from there. And I was so young and working so hard that the way you can improve, you know, now to improve, it takes a year and a half to do something better because you just learned how to do what you're doing, and you know. Back then, it was just every issue just got better and better and better, or I thought so anyway. And it was a good training. And once again, it's a team book, but harder choreography-wise. You really have to learn how to do storytelling, which I know not a whole lot of people give a shit about anymore, but I did. And yeah, that was a great experience.
And that kind of segued you into Spider-Man, right? I guess
yeah, because Dan Fingeroth was editing it. He knew if he didn't give me Spider-Man, I'd fucking strangle him. Yeah, a funny story is I was out and I really thought I was going to be the next guy on Spider-Man when an opening came up because Todd was on it, and I'd done some fill-in issues, and I forget what Eric Larson was doing at the time. Anyway, I was out in San Diego Con years and years ago, and I wasn't feeling in a good place for some reason, and I found out that Eric got Amazing Spider-Man, and I was like, damn, you know, well, good for Eric. I'm not the kind of guy to go, you know, hey, you know, this guy, he shouldn't have gotten it. But I said, damn, man, I was really kind of down, and I'm not big at conventions, and I'm not really good socializing, that sort of thing. Anyway, as you can tell, and so there was an after party, a party one evening, loud and obnoxious, and I usually don't go, but I went, and I'm hanging out there, and Eric comes up. I see Eric across the room, and I walk over just to congratulate him. You know, good for you. And I don't know if anybody knows Eric, but he can be a little abrupt,
okay,
blunt. And he proceeded to tell me everything I was doing wrong. You know, I don't think he coached it and like, this is why you didn't get the book, but
Right.
he was, you know, he went into, oh, we're looking at images. We're going to do this. It's got to be big. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. Break all the rules. Yada, yada, yada. And it really came across. I was so mad. And he's a pretty good sized guy, but I was in the service. I got 5 brothers, you know, and I got a sister who'll kick your ass. And, you know, it's like, I was in pretty good shape back in the day. I was this close to climbing this, and it would have been climbing because he's taller than him. I would have climbed his block and cleaned it right there.
Man, this was a much different story, man.
One of my best friends in the world at the time still is Charles Rutledge, who teaches Shotokan karate to the cops. He beats up cops for fun. Wow. That's what he does. And he's about 6'4", and he's 6'2", and he's about 210. He literally saw what was going on. He grabbed me from behind. He picked me up and carried me away. He goes, Mark, you don't want to do that. And my feet are going like this. I'm going to fucking kill him. But I calmed down, and I got to thinking about what he was saying, and I took some of what he was saying to heart. And because he was right in some ways. And I tried to incorporate some of the stuff that some of the younger guys, and they're not that much younger than me, but I've been in the business a few more years, and I was just more old school. I mean, I just am. And I tried to figure out what I could incorporate of what they were doing into what I was doing and have it improve. And it did me a world of good. And I've told this to Eric to his face. So
that's funny, man. That's a great story. I mean, so it's got to be surreal. I mean, all of a sudden you go from like Visionaries to New Warriors to now Spider-Man. I mean, it's got to be surreal, right? Like all of a sudden you're on this massive franchise, and in the '90s too, like that whole time period. I mean,
no, I've been so fortunate timing wise. Yeah, I mean, I got so fortunate. I always, too much information. I got a vasectomy when I was really young because we figured my wife would always have to work, and I would do comics. We'd have one kid because that's what we could afford to really have and raise right, because comics was a tradesman craft, and I'd be working 60 hours a week and just making a decent middle class income with my wife working. And in the 90s, it just turned into stupid money. And I knew it wouldn't last, but while it lasted, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we were like rock stars for a while. I mean, it was just, it was crazy.
I grew up during that time. I mean, for me as a collector, I mean, I'm going to the, pharmacy with my mom and, picking these, Carnage books right off the newsstand. And it was mind-blowing stuff at the time. And it's all, like on our page, like all these books are just so hot now. Like all that stuff that you did during that time period, people are just going crazy for again.
Oh, if I had some of that artwork, I've got some, but not much from back.
Yeah, we can request for it. Let us know.
Yeah. So
you did 111 straight. Is that the right number?
Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah.
Okay, so that was on Ultimate Spider-Man.
I've done more. I've been told I never counted this stuff up, but it's people who do count these sort of things. And I've done more Spider-Man comics than anybody else.
Wow.
And so. And he's always been my favorite character. I mean, hell, I've been on him again now for about 5 years or 4 years, which is just shocking considering how many good guys there are out there. They got this old fart, kind of anchoring it. And I think part of it's because I work a little bit faster and get the work done.
But, how? I mean, I've heard this before. I mean, you say you can do like a book a month. I mean, how many hours per day?
Back in the day, I was doing about a book and a half a month.
Book and a half?
Yeah, book and a half.
Wow.
I was working, probably 80 hours a week. That's my one regret is, as I'm getting more mature in my age, I've always been a little bit too focused on this stuff, on my work and that sort of thing. I'm not as well rounded. I mean, I love Ron Garney. 6 feet tall, good looking, teaches judo, plays classical piano, is one hell of a good artist. And I was like, fuck you. But
that's great.
But I just, when I got in, you weren't making any money at the stuff, so I would having to work, literally 80 hours a week, which, it sounds terrible, but you walk 5 minutes to your desk. You don't have to spend an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes prepping for work, then a half an hour driving to work, or an hour and a half, and you just don't, and you can work in evenings and that sort of thing. And I always knew I wasn't the most talented guy out there. I mean, if Jim Lee's still on this thing, trust me, I know I'm not the most talented guy out there. But I always swore nobody would ever outwork me. And I would never treat it like, ooh, I'm an artist. No, yeah, I'm an artist, but I'm also a person who wants a career.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I still have a career. You
Yeah.
know, I joke with JR, you know, it's like he and I and there's just a few other guys kind of in our generation are really doing this still full time.
Right.
You know, like almost like back in the day. And, you know, I'm actually ready. I am slowing down because A, I want to do better work. B, you know, I want to go out and have some fun, you know? And,
Yeah, man, of course. Absolutely.
You know,
So let me jump back a
if
little
I can
bit.
figure out how to have fun, I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
You got time for that. You'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
So let's jump back a little bit because we skipped ahead to the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff. There's that Thunderbolts period in there too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that whole series, I mean, when you were at Marvel, was there a lot of excitement and buzz about that stuff back then? Because like we're seeing now, like people are going crazy for like that Hulk 449 where the Thunderbolts were created, and all those early issues like are just buzzing, man.
You got to remember, I'm legendary and revered according to Pawn Stars. So it's a piece of my artwork on Pawn Stars once. I get this phone call from my daughter at 10:15 at night. She's a single mom of 3, and she's like, and the phone rings at 10:15. You're like, what the fuck's going on? What? And it's Dad, you're on Pawn Stars. And they had a page of my Batman Spider-Man team up, and they brought the art expert in to authenticate it and all that. And he goes, oh, this is clearly original artwork for comics. This is Mark Bagley. He's a, quote, legendary and revered comic artist.
Nice.
It's like I had a convention the next week, and I heard more shit for that from the guys. So it was funny. But where were we going with this? What's the question again? It was
Thunderbolts.
Oh, Thunderbolts. Yeah, I wanted to work with Kurt. Kurt wanted to work with me. There was some pushback on hiring me for Thunderbolts because I wasn't the new hot guy. You know, I was kind of over working on Amazing Spider-Man. I was a little burned out on it, and so when that all happened, that all popped up. In fact, the first issue of Thunderbolts, I still was my head was not in a really good spot. And if you look at it, I actually got pages sent back to me by Tom Brevoort because he says, look, you need to put some more backgrounds in these. And I've never had anybody say that to me before. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate him doing it because it was like he was right. You know, no matter what your headspace is like. I've been on projects I was miserable. I do try. It's always harder to put in really good work, but you got to try anyway.
Of course. Yeah, it's a great series. So you did some of that stuff, right? Then you get into all the Ultimate Spider-Man. You have that crazy run, and then you end up at DC for a little bit, right? I mean, was it time for a change? What was what was your mindset?
It was a number of things. I was hankering to, you know, maybe play in DC's pool a little bit and drop Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. There's actually a page in Trinity where they're going past the Daily Planet.
Yep.
I forget, Supergirl, I think, is flying past it or something. No, that was when I was doing Justice League. And I wrote the Daily Bugle on the logo. And I didn't mean to do it. And it got through inking, got through color. Hold on, it's the Daily, just because I did it out of habit. But, yeah, I was ready for change. And Marvel, I think, the squeaky wheel gets the grease sometimes. And my contract had come up, and I'm going to put it this way, and I appreciate, I've always loved Marvel. They've always treated me great, but my wife was pissed about, how that something went on. And so I just went, it's and I've been talking to Kurt a little bit about maybe what we could do if I were to do it. And I didn't make any commitments to DC or anything, but my head is in the right place. And Marvel came back and they made another offer because I told them, and they were like, well, can we make another offer? Sure. But I felt like it was time. So, yeah, I've worked there for about 3 years.
Gotcha. So now you've been back at Marvel for how long?
God, I don't know. I think 10 years or so. It's been a while,
Yeah.
I came back with the death of Ultimate Peter Parker, and that's been a while. You think that's like yesterday, but that has been a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like I said, Marvel, they treat me very well. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
JR's back now, so he's going to take over all my projects because he's better than I am.
Oh, come on. So a question, I mean, is there a lot of buzz, like there's Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, Young Avengers, all these new characters that are popping up. Is there just like a general feeling of excitement right now just at Marvel Studios, just with the potential for all these movies and things that are happening with the new characters?
How the hell am I supposed to know? I don't know anything about Marvel Studios, man. Well, yeah, they do film here in Georgia, but I've been to the studio, complex once. But no, that's sort of out of my bailiwick. It is exciting seeing all these characters, and there's lots of stuff going on. I just, as long as the stories are good, I don't care. I don't care what the characters are doing. I don't care. Some of the politics gets a little hard for an older white dude, but I tell the story and try to do it as honest as I can.
Yeah.
So, and then I stay the hell off of Instagram and off of Facebook and off of,
I
don't tweet, so it's like, people like working with me because I keep my mouth shut and I keep my head down.
That's a good thing, man. So how about the new format? So, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, technology wise, there's all these digital versions and things like that. I mean, has there been a significant change to your workflow and your process over the years, as things have changed and developed?
Not for me, because I'm kind of a Luddite.
Right.
There's arguments for this stuff. I can see how the digital creation can speed up the process a lot when it comes to like laying out pages and doing your storytelling and that sort of thing. And actually, I don't do it digitally a lot, but I'm using my Xerox machine more and that sort of thing, blowing things up, move things around. Used to be, I just did a quick thumbnail of what the page was basically going to be roughed out as, and just started drawing on the page. That's basically how I did for years. I've since started, working things out a little bit more, doing a little bit more prep work. But my thing on it is I still work with paper and pencil and practical, because my philosophical feeling of it is when I'm done, I've got a piece of artwork in front of me.
Right.
I can keep it, got a safe full in there. So if I croak tomorrow,
Sure.
my wife and my kid has an income, above and beyond anything else. I can gift it, which I've done a lot of, or I can sell it. And I can make, pretty good side income on art, especially if you're working on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And when you work digitally, especially if you work only digitally, when you're done, you have a file.
Sure.
And there's no intrinsic monetary value to a file. I don't care. Yeah, I know they're getting out of the new digital, whatever that thing is.
The NFTs. You're probably.
Yeah, I don't.
We don't understand it.
I want nothing to do with CGC contacting me about it. And I don't care. I don't need the money, and I don't. It's just I don't get it. But to have the thing in front of you, and I've actually just started recently having my Inkers ink blue line, and I may go back to the old way. Now, the old way is the Inker inks it directly on the page, and you slip the pages. A third goes to the Inker, and 2/3 comes to the penciler. And I've had them doing it blue line because I've wanted to, maintain possession of more of the original artwork in my pencils, but because I'm thinking more of my legacy and my daughter and my grandkids and that sort of thing. But I may go back because I do like having it inked on the original page. I like the idea that there's just the one thing.
Yeah, I get that.
So, and I'm not sure what collectors think about it or not. As good as Inker is, I don't care how good they are, it's different than when I draw it. Sometimes it's better, but it is still different. John Dell inks the living shit out of the stuff, and so does Drew Hennessy. But there's always an interpretation of it. It's like Ryan Stegman's. I was not a fan of Ryan Stegman's art for a long time. When he was doing he was working on Spider-Man and Savage, whatever the Foes thing was, because it just looks rough. It just looked rough. And then I got to see his pencils, and his pencils are fucking phenomenal. I was working on Venom Lethal Protector, the newer one. They sent me, reference stuff from what he was doing. It was his pencils, and it was just like, this shit can't be inked. It's just too damn good.
Right.
And that's the problem with it. It's like, Walt Simon's, you see his pencils, and they're just like, Jesus Christ, so part of me is like, yeah, I want to maintain the purity of the pencils so that people can go, yeah, he could really draw, Sure. I give enough that it's there for the inker to really go to town on and have a good time on, because I think that's their job.
Right.
But they're not tracing it. A lot of these guys spend 3 days on a page, which would bore the living shit out of me.
Right.
And I would ink it myself, except I find I can't physically. I can't, because you end up holding the pen so tight, and you have to be so controlled that it just gives me problems in my elbow and my wrist. And maybe it wouldn't have 30 years ago, but now. So I've been inking some covers and things. But once I'm at the end of end of the day of inking a cover, my elbow's like, I've just got a hot spot there, you know, and there's no getting rid of that.
Right. Yeah. Huh. It's interesting, man. So what's your take on the variant covers? I know you've done quite a few of them. I mean, do you guys get excited when you get called in for these? And then, you know, part two, like some of these covers in the collectible world, like go completely bananas, you know, because of the scarcity.
I don't understand the collector's market. I don't monetize what I do very well. I know guys who's like, they sell the layouts and everything goes to their dealer and everything gets sold. And I don't monetize this stuff very well, and I don't really pay attention. I've started signing like the comp copies I get and keeping them, because I guess they'll be worth some money. Right. I've got like 5 or 6 issue of Venom something back there, which apparently are worth $500 an issue. I don't know what the hell to do with them. You know? I guess you could probably help me with that.
Yeah, let us know.
Spencer should, but you know, when it comes to variants and things like that, I don't get excited about, oh, I'm getting to do a variant. You know, that's not how it works. It's like, oh, I get to do a variant, and I'm just drawing. I'm enjoying it, and you know, yeah, you know, and if the story's great, then I get excited about it. 9 times out of 10, I'll read the script and go, holy shit, this is going to be a pain in the ass. And then, and while you're drawing it, though, you're like, this is kind of fun, you know. So, right. You know, I'm very, you know, I tell people a bad day for me is better than most people, 95% of people in the world's good days, you know, at their job.
Right.
A bad day for me is, you know, I'm a little bored with it, and Jesus, you know, I want to be doing something else. You know, a good day for a lot of people is like, shit, I hate my fucking job. I want to go home, you know, so.
Yeah, it's a cool gig, man. So let's like the last year and a half. I mean, you know, I think previously you were popping into quite a few comic conventions, you know, the cons. Do you miss seeing everybody at those? Or are those kind of taxing for you at this stage in the game? What's your feeling on it?
You could look up the expression double-edged sword and find my opinion.
Okay.
The one part of it is, yeah, it's amazing going to these things and getting that sort of affirmation, and you can make, you know, whoever thought of comic artists, you know, getting paid to sign their autographs? I mean, it's just insane to me still.
Sure.
But everybody's doing it, so you feel like you end up having to do it. But it's great to meet the fans, but there's so much, especially for an artist, there's so much work as you're there, and you got the pressure to do drawing, and travel is such a pain in the ass now between the mask mandates and just the uncomfortableness of it. And so, yeah, part of me misses it, but part of me does not miss it at all. I like my house. I like my friends around here, you know,
sure.
That sort of thing.
So what else do you do when you're not, you know, embedding yourself with comics? What other kind of hobbies you get into? Especially, like, I guess during the last year, we've all had, you know, some more time on our hands.
Weight. I put on, you know, I put on a lot of weight. That's been my hobby for last year.
But eating
no, not really. Not a little bit, but I hike and I play pool with friends of mine. We go out probably a couple of times a month, 3 times a month, and, you know, at the local bar and shoot pool till 2 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, watch movies. And I don't do a lot of stuff. Like I said, when I'm done drawing at the end of the day, I'm pretty tired. A lot of times I just sit in front of the TV and veg, you know, stream something or whatever. I hang out with the grandkids and my wife, and, you know, it's
nice, man.
It's a pretty comfortable, just chill. We have no pets, so we got no responsibilities. And
there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you watch the Marvel movies?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I have I don't lose a lot of sleep over, oh, it's so different from the comic in this way.
Right.
And I do think, you know, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are maybe a little too tied up with Tony Stark and all that, with the fancy, you know, technical uniforms and things like that. I think they've gone a little bit over, but they're done so well, and they're so much fun, and they're, you know, how can you not have a blast with them? I actually just rewatched the entire Marvel, you know, chronologically from First Avenger all the way through to Endgame. So
yeah, as did I.
It took about a week and a half, 2 weeks, you know. But
yeah. I think we all did that
last year. I enjoy it. It's the only kind of movie I really go to the theater for anymore, is that kind of big blockbuster movie. Otherwise, you know, I've got a 90-inch screen in the basement, so that's pretty good size for me. So I just stay down there.
Nice.
I like my popcorn not being $20 you know,
true.
A serving.
Very true. And did you get tapped and pulled in for anything, you know, especially with like the Carnage movie that's coming out? Do they reach out to you?
They haven't contacted me about the Carnage movie in any way. my wife, if they don't invite me to the premiere, she's begging me. She's begging me to call somebody at Marvel and say, look, because I've only been invited to one premiere, and that was for Spider-Verse. But they called me like on a Wednesday, and I had a convention to do that weekend, which I'd already committed to, and they'd already paid me for. And so I didn't feel like I could just pull out of it. But she's like, they don't invite you to this premiere. She gets a lot more pissed about this than I do. But I'll be a little bit.
Let's make her happy. That's the most important, man.
Well, yeah, that is the most important. Oh, it's so funny. We were at Lowe's last night, actually, looking at some lighting fixtures, and so it's my wife and I. So there's this little white couple, and there's this good-sized black guy behind. He's about 45, nice guy, I guess. I turn and say, "Hey, how you doing?" He looks at me. He goes, "No," he says to me, "How you doing?" I said, "Doing good. How are you?" He goes, "I'm okay." And I looked at him and said, "You're married." He looked at me and started laughing. My wife and I just went at it. So it was hilarious. So
that's great, man. Well, Mark, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I got one more for you before we wrap up. We end all of our interviews at Instagirls with this one. What is the first concert you ever went to?
I'm going to say, I think, because I was stoned at a few of them, so don't remember very well. The Moody Blues, I think.
Moody Blues, good one.
Yeah. So I think it was at the Omni in Atlanta.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, I just want to personally thank you, man. Your work means so much to me as a fan over the years. Again, I grew up on your stuff, so truly thank you for the art. For me, I was reading this stuff from ages 10 to 15, and as a teenager, young guy, like it's just a nice escape having the comics, man. So I really, truly, I appreciate you and the art, man. This has been a true privilege for me this morning. Thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to keep you too long. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Bagley.
The Mark Bagley.
Anything you want to plug before we go?
No. There's a few. No, never mind. I can't say that. I'm working on Sinister Six right now, which is, it's so much fun because I love drawing those old Spider-Man characters and some I've never drawn before, like Stegron and that sort of thing. So, I think that's going to be fun, so as much as I know about it. But right now, that's about it. I'm going to make some calls and see what I can get to come up.
Well, awesome, man. Sinister Six, everybody, check it out. We actually, I think, sold the Spider-Man Annual 1 this morning. Which was the original Sinister Six.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of a nice tie-in that you're working on that. But Mark, again, thank you, man. This has really just been a pleasure. Have a great day, man. Nice to see you.
We'll do it. You too. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Later.